Interior designers help people create solutions for their environments, their living environments, their working environments. They help people use their space better. And it's exciting because you get to help people with what their needs are on a daily basis and make them have a more enjoyable experience in their space that they live and work in every day. So some examples of how interior designers would help people in their space. For instance, if you have a client who is a doctor's office, you can help them solve their spatial needs with creative solutions. You can help kids who are coming into the doctors who might be nervous. You can create fun spaces for them to enter into, make them feel comfortable, make sure that there are appropriately sized chairs for both the adults coming in and the kids coming in. You can create an environment that makes them feel safe. And then as far as, for the doctors that work in the building or the employees, nurses, receptionists, you need to make sure that they have the right kind of equipment for anything that they're going to need in their space. There's a lot that goes into solving these problems for them, and it's really interesting because you get to find out about how other people work every day and what they do in their jobs, and then you get to help them do it better. So the first step in the design process would be needs assessment. So for example, if I were working with a doctor's office, I would find out how much space they need, how many offices they need to see patients in, how many reception seats, what type of equipment they might have, what the lab requirements for processing tests and things like that might be. I would find out how many patients come in and out of the office in a day. Basically anything that needs to be going in the space, I need to know about it. Also part of the design process would be looking at what other types of spaces that are similar to your clients do and what they look like and how they're used. So for instance, a doctor's office I would look at other doctor's offices, and if it was a restaurant, I would look at, different other restaurants that may be similar to what my client is and how those restaurants are designed and operated so that I could have a good comparison to make sure that, I'm working within industry standards, making sure that I know what the standard is across the board. So the second step would be conceptual design, which starts with the ideation process and ends up with a set of schematic drawings that you take back to the client for approval. And the first thing that you do is you find the amount of space. You find the footprint, so to speak, so that could be an existing building or it could be something that you're working with an architect from scratch on. Then you want to lay out the different areas, what has to be next to what, so that's adjacencies. You would figure out what the best flow of the space would be, how people are going to get around in the space, how much space they need for each of the parts of the process if it's a working environment, and then you put that all together in a set of sketches and drawings. You can get idea boards put together with fun pictures of what other spaces look like. You can start to pull pictures of furniture. You can, get your finishes out, your carpet, your stone, your paint colors, and really just kind of start to bring it all together as an idea of physical space. And then you get feedback from your client. So in the conceptual design process, there's a lot of skill sets involved. And the first would be mathematics. You would have to measure. You would have to calculate square footage, how much area is a footprint for an office, or how much is the footprint that a table and chairs takes up in a restaurant, how much space do you need around that, and then you take that as a multiplier times how many of those, and then there's a factor, circulation factor it's called, in terms of like hallways and where people get to walk around, that you have to add into that. And the thing that people don't sometimes know is that when you're designing space for a client, the more space there is, the more money there is that you have to spend. So all of the materials that you use, they cost money. So how much is that going to cost? Because one of the things a client really wants to know is, how much money is it going to cost me to build out these great ideas that you have? And so you also have to work with math, calculating the costs of the items and putting a budget together for your client and making sure that what they want, they can afford. So another thing in the conceptual stage that you have to do is you have to be innovative. You have to, a lot of clients want you to develop multifunctional solutions. So one space may function in many different ways. And how can you create a space that is going to do that? You need to be able to get creative and problem solve. So if a space has to be a conference room one day, and then it has to be an area for, a video conference or a filming area, or, it has to change. How do you do that? Do you put things on wheels? Do you have things push and pull in and out of the space or fold up? How do you make for instance, one restaurant I worked at had a private party area, and when they weren't having private parties, they wanted that area to be used for overflow for the restaurant. So one creative solution would be to install a wall that is a movable wall. And the engineering that goes into the movable wall and the amount of space that you need to build it and pocket it in needs to be figured out by a designer. And that way you can serve multiple functions in the same space using creativity.